current cyberbullying situation in our country, the significant findings of Professor Gonzalez's study, and the programs that the DICT Cybersecurity Bureau had initiated and implemented to address cyberbullying. Tanungin naman natin ngayon si Agent Ano Nuevo. Agent Edge Ano Nuevo. How does the NBI Cybercrime Division handle reported cases of cyberbullying, Sir Edge? How many were reported last year and resolved? And did the numbers improve this year?
Well, it really depends on the nature of the case reported to us. And it's good that Professor Gonzalez has mentioned the lack of an exact definition of cyberbullying in our present legal statutes. So what we do is we try to find a legal angle wherein we can categorize the reported incident to us within the existing legal penal statutes of our country. And because of this lack of legal definition, there is a difficulty in quantifying the actual statistics of cyberbullying cases. Because what we do is, for example, the reported incident contains elements of online libel, then we classify it as a case of online libel. If there is a threat aspect to the case, then we classify it as grave threats. And if there is a sexual harassment aspect to the case, then we classify it under the sexual harassment.
Exploitation.
Yes, ma'am.
So, Agent Edge, ano pa po ba yung mga iba't iba pang offenses na covered ng Cybercrime Prevention Act na pwedeng magamit na charges para sa cyberbullying incidents?
Okay, so basically, lahat ng traditional crimes that are defined and penalized under the revised penal code, pwede rin natin gamitin siya to address cyberbullying incidents because under the Republic Act 1175, that is our Cybercrime Prevention Act, under Section 6 of that statute, lahat ng traditional crimes na penalized under revised penal code, pwede natin siyang makumit through online means.
With
through
the use of ICT?
Yes, ma'am, through the use of ICT. And the penalty for that is 1 degree higher than the traditional crimes.
Halimbawa naman, unjust vexation daw na commit under the revised penal code, yung unjust vexation, yun yung nagkakos ng substantial or severe emotional distress for no legitimate purpose sa isang tao. Yung vinex mo siya, inasar mo siya ng todo, tapos nag-cause ng sleepless nights, mental anguish, serious anxiety sa tao. Yung penalty under the revised penal code for committing the crime of unjust vexation, magiging 1 degree higher siya.
Actually, attorney, it's good to hear that our law recognizes the effect of ICT committed crimes have actually more repercussions than those of the traditional crimes. That's why 1 degree, always at least 1 degree higher ang penalty if you commit it through ICT. Kaya lang, attorney, how about in cases where it's not really pornography, it's not sexual exploitation, but rather a teenager na typically a mom, a fellow mother na yung anak is na-distress because may nag-post ng something detrimental sa kanya, na-hurt siya, hindi siya nakatulog. It will not fall kasi under the other offenses sa Cybercrime Prevention Act. Is there a legal course for
Yes,
this?
ma'am. Pwedeng makasuhan ng unjust vexation yung perpetrator. Ang unjust vexation kasi yan yung merong substantial o severe emotional distress na na-cause sa isang tao na wala namang legitimate purpose and yet ginagawa sa kanya yon. So, hindi siya makatulog, may sleepless night siya, may mental anguish siya tuloy na nararanasan. Hindi po ba, Prof. Gonzalez, may mga cases din kayo na encounter na ganito?
Yes, actually sa school setting, marami tayong cases ng cyberbullying. Kaya lang, siguro isang question na pwede nating itanong dyan is, pinag-uusapan kasi natin yung legal aspects ng cyberbullying. But we forgot to mention that mostly ang involved sa cyberbullying ay mga minors. So, I wonder how these laws we have would, help in addressing cyberbullying, considering that most of the involved people here are minors.
Professor, kasi kahit mga minors, maaari pa rin silang kasuhan, nagiging tinatawag nating CICL o Children in Conflict with the Law. Pero syempre, we want to avoid this. We also want to protect the minor kahit siya yung nag-start ng unjust fixation, hindi po ba? Kasi pwedeng misguided siya or may pinagdadaanan din. Kaya nga sa ating law against bullying, which covers now cyberbullying, magandang gawin muna ay dumaan muna sa school. Ma-involve muna ang parents, ang guidance counselor, ang students. May mediation muna. Huwag yung didiretso mo kagad sa korte dahil nga, gaya ng sabi niyo, mga minors ang involved dito. Kadalasan.
Nag-viral noong March 2018 ang video ng pagmumura at pananampal ng isang estudyante sa kapwa niya mag-aral sa Quezon. Bagaman napag-ayos ang dalawang panig, matindi ang posibleng epekto nito sa batang binuli. Kumalat din ang larawan ng isang dalagitang walang saplot pang itaas sa ilang mag-aaral sa Maynila.
Very recently, we have read in the news similar incidents we saw in that video. A student in one exclusive school bullying a classmate inside the boys' toilet and uploading that incident. Also, another incident of students sharing and uploading nude photos of their own classmates. Ito po ba ang ganitong klaseng cyberbullying incidents ang most commonly reported to your office, Agent Edge?
Yes, ma'am, Kat. Actually, yan yung mga leading incidents of cyberbullying that are reported to our office in line with, along with online libel cases, extortion cases, and then yung andyan din yung mga threats, grave threats cases natin, kasama din dyan. And yung yung uploading of the bullying incident, hindi siya masyadong kasama, pero ito yung nag-garner ng most attention dun sa mga netizens natin kasi nga dun sa nature ng content. And then yung uploading ng mga nude photos ng mga students, ayan, very prevalent din yan. Hindi pa natin sinasama dyan yung mga group chats, yung mga group page, wherein dyan talaga nangyayari yung pasahan ng mga nude pictures. And if you're a victim of uploading of nude photos, usually kasama it follows, magiging victim ka na rin ng cyberbullying kasi ibabash ka ng mga classmates mo, ng mga kilala mo, ng mga even friends mo, ganyan.
Pero, Agent Edge, paano naman po kung yung cyberbully used a troll account to cyberbully the victim? What happens? This is actually a common problem among celebrities or public officials or mga public figures, sir, diba? When they are bashed below the belt and the basher use troll accounts, wouldn't that fall also under cyberbullying?
Yes, ma'am. That can be categorized also as a cyberbullying case. And usually what we do is we evaluate the reported content. Because depending on the nature of the case, if there is a grave and imminent danger on the person of the aggrieved party, then we can use it as a justification for us to file our request with our foreign counterparts.
Meaning, ito po yung preservation?
Yes, ma'am. Initially, mag-ano kami ng preservation letter with the social media website concerned.
For example,
then,
Facebook or Instagram.
Facebook or Instagram or whichever. And then after that, if we find that meron talagang danger dun sa life ng injured party, then we can use it as basis for the request po namin dun sa social media account concerned.
Pero sir, what if walang imminent or grave danger sa part ng victim?
Yes, ma'am.
Pero very serious yung accusation na sira talaga ang reputasyon niya, nasaktan ng pamilya. Yun naman, you also prioritize those cases naman.
Yes, ma'am. What we do is we take into consideration the circumstantial evidence surrounding the case, and then if it is not enough to establish the identity of the perpetrator, then meron po tayong tinatawag na warrant to disclose computer data. That's the legal process wherein we can compel a information service provider, an ISP, to disclose a subscriber information, for instance, tapos yung mga related information na pwede nating makakatulong para ma-identify natin yung perpetrator.
Maganda sana to yung warrant to disclose computer data. Ang problem lang is kung may jurisdiction yung court natin. Kasi halimbawa, Facebook, sa US kasi, di ba? Doon dapat i-file ang case. So, it's a bit tricky for our law enforcers pagka ganyan. Yung mga ISPs lang na nasa Pilipinas, yun lang yung may jurisdiction yung Philippine courts eh. Napakahalaga nito para sa ating mga manonood. Ano ba ang basic responsibilities ng DICT at NBI in relation to cyberbullying? Kung ako ay isang magulang at nabibiktima ang aking anak sa cyberbullying, kanino ako tatakbo para i-report ang ganitong kaso?
Well, for DICT, in terms of cybersecurity, as mentioned earlier, we're more on the preventive aspect, education aspect. When it comes to investigation and prosecution, it's with our law enforcement, with DOJ. Now, what the ICT does, as earlier mentioned, we do extensive educational campaigns. So throughout schools, we've been doing cybersecurity campaign programs, and we try to cover all the regions as much as we can. So we do this in schools, universities, colleges, educating basically the youth on responsible digital citizenship, and of course also explaining the laws that could make them understand how they should behave online. And aside from that, we also have programs targeting the parents, guardians, guidance counselors, and it's called digital parenting. Now, when we do receive a case of, let's say for example, a youth reports that he was cyberbullied, what we do, if we can do immediate measures, for example, there are cases where the Facebook account is taken over by someone, so the teenager can no longer access his account. We do try to help, recover the account. Some immediate measures that we can always do, like reaching out to the social media platform, and then should they want to pursue a case, we also help them prepare evidence, like how do you capture the screenshot. Of course, it needs to have to include the URL, things like that. Preparation.
Before you refer them to the law.
And then we refer them to the Philippine National Police Anti-Cybercrime Group or to the NBI Cybercrime Division. So we just help them prepare all the things that they need should they want to pursue a case.
Wow. I understand that House Bill 5718, entitled An Act Defining and Penalizing the Crime of Cyberbullying, known as the Anti-Cyberbullying Act of 2015, originally authored by former Congressman Rolando Andaya, has been pending with the House ICT Committee for quite some time now. Does anyone of our guests know the status of the bill now?
Actually, the DICT is invited when there is an ICT committee hearing. But so far, we have not yet received an invitation on this particular bill. The last one we did was on the amendment of the Cybercrime Prevention Act, as well as the Data Privacy Act.
House Bill 5718 criminalizes cyberbullying and sets a penalty of 50,000 pesos but not more than 100,000 pesos. Meron din niyang imprisonment, not less than 6 months but not more than 6 years for anyone found guilty of cyberbullying, di po ba? Ms. Jen, do you see this as a deterrent for individuals or netizens from committing cyberbullying? Itong mga penalties na to? At yung fines na impose, deterrent ba yan?
For the Anti-Bullying Act, actually, since it's specific to primary and secondary
Schools.
secondary schools, those that are in colleges, universities, and even adults have no recourse if you just refer to that bill. So it's not if you ask me, we need a specific law on cyberbullying itself, so that all of our citizens who are victimized can have a legal recourse.
So alam nyo na may mga intervention programs at preventive programs dapat ang mga schools, at mandated ito ng government ha. Itong mga preventive programs na to, ang meron dyan, hindi dapat punitive measures. Dapat preventive and corrective measures. And tama kayo, Ms. Jen, sa sinabi nyo kanina na hindi ito applicable sa mga nasa colleges na, actually applicable to sa mga nasa kindergarten, elementary, secondary schools, at sa mga learning centers lamang.
Okay, dun sa kaso ng ating mga HEIs or higher educational institutions, we do not have this kind of provisions that would compel the schools to actually come up with this kind of programs or policies. Now, in some cases, so dahil limited tayo at ang ganitong klaseng mga provisions, the schools itself initiates their own policies and guidelines, and most of these policies and guidelines are actually incorporated to the school's student handbook. Well, definitely hindi ito sapat dahil unang-una hindi natin ma-assure na lahat ng colleges and universities sa buong Pilipinas would have their own policy and guidelines on cyberbullying. So, on my part, doon pa rin ako na ang aking stand dito is kailangan talagang magkaroon tayo ng isang malinaw, specific na batas on cyberbullying that will cover lahat ng involved na institutions and schools, regardless kung ito ay basic education or ito ay higher education institutions.
And we'll go to Agent Edge. Ano naman tingin nyo tungkol dito sa sufficiency ng mga policies? Yung mga prevailing lang na guidelines na meron yung mga colleges, enough ba yan?
On the side of law enforcement, ma'am, we actually treat those provisions and policies as disciplinary measures. So if we're speaking of deterrence to the commission of cyberbullying incidents, then these policies and provisions will definitely not suffice. Kaya tama po si Professor Gonzales, once and for all, sana po meron po tayong existing na law na mag-a-address po dun sa cyberbullying incidents po natin.
Sayang at wala tayong kasamang representatives from the Department of Education ngayon for us to better understand and appreciate the implementation of the implementing rules and regulations of the anti-bullying law in schools. Next time, we should also invite teachers, school administrators, and students for their inputs to better improve the implementation of the implementing rules and regulations of the Anti-Bullying Act. Let us pause for a break.